Once I got past the first few rounds, I started to think, you know, this is all right. I could go quite far here, but it all came to an end in the final four. So
we'll start the strongest link for the last round. That's Mark. Let's play the weakest link. We'll start the strongest link for the last round. That's Mark. Let's play the weakest link. We'll start the strongest link for the last round. That's Mark. Let's play the weakest link. The former RAF fighter pilot who in the 1980s and 90s became the first player to win 50 England caps is Rory who?
Pass.
Underwood, Joe. In New York City, the southern tip of Manhattan has an area with what name? Battery Park or Electric Avenue?
Battery Park.
Correct, Mark. In politics, Joe. In music, when learning the piano, the repetitive playing of single notes progressively up and down is known as practicing your what?
Scales.
Correct, Mark.
Continued.
Correct, Joe.
Bank.
In maths, if the numbers from 1 to 10 are spelt out in alphabetical order, which comes first?
5.
8. Mark. In literature, the character...
Jester.
Joker. You won £200 in round 8. You get the chance to treble what you banked. Before that, time to vote off the weakest link.
In a sudden reversal of fortune, Mark goes from being the strongest link in the last 2 rounds to the weakest in this. Joe is statistically the strongest link, but who will be taking the final walk of shame?
Voting over, it's time to reveal who you think is the weakest link.
Joe.
Mark.
David.
3-way tie, a vote each. Mark, why David?
I thought over the entire game Joe had been the strongest player in all rounds.
David, you thought Joe was the weakest link in that last round, did you?
It was a toss-up between her and me, I think.
You're not voting tactically because it'd be more difficult, wouldn't it, to have Joe in the final?
Wouldn't
You wouldn't dare, no. Joe, why Mark?
I've really struggled to keep count in that round of who got what wrong. I think Mark's stood in my head longer, and I know that after David had given a correct answer, I banked. So that swung it.
Well, when the vote's tied, the strongest link has to cast the deciding vote, and the strongest link was Joe. Do you want to stick with Mark or move to David?
Oh gosh, this is so tempting, isn't it? I'm going to do, as Mark said, and I'm going to go with my honest first thoughts.
He was the worst player. Mark, you are the weakest link. Goodbye. £1,360. In this round, 90 seconds. But whatever you win will be trebled. We'll start the strongest link from the last round. That's Joe. Let's play the weakest link. Start the clock. Joe, the plant that takes its common name from a biblical event when the staff of the brother of Moses burst into flower is called Aaron's what?
Phoenix.
Rod. David. In geography, the Great Sandy Desert, the Gibson Desert and the Great Victoria Desert are all in which country?
Australia.
Correct, Joe.
Bank.
In broadcasting, the historian and media personality famously described as the rudest man in Britain is Dr. David who?
Owen.
Starkey. David. At American universities, in horse racing, the rider who was champion jockey 26 times and won the Derby in 1953 was Sir Gordon who?
Pass.
Richards. David. In cinema, according to the top... In transport, the major UK motor manufacturer created by a merger in 1968, whose name included that of a town in Lancashire, was British what?
Pass.
Leyland.
Oh.
David, in maths, what is the spelling? Which letter is absent from the word refrigerator but is present in its abbreviation fridge?
D.
Tank.
Time's up. That was the correct answer, and your bank was in time. And in that round, you won £100, which we will treble. It means prize money today of £1,660. There can only be one winner. Now, up to 5 questions each. If there's a tie, we'll go for sudden death. So, David and Joe for £1,660. Let's play the weakest link. David. David, as the strongest link in the last round, you have the choice of who goes first.
Could I go first now?
David, the 2010 book The Girl in Alfred Hitchcock's Shower by Robert Gray Smith is the story of the woman who was the body double for Janet Leigh in a scene in which 1960 film?
Psycho.
That is the correct answer, Joe. Which word that was originally the name of a French coin is now the term for a unit of weight for fabrics, such as nylon or silk, that's used to measure the fineness of stockings or tights?
Denier.
That is the correct answer. David, in South Africa, which city founded on the shores of Table Bay is affectionately known to its inhabitants as the country's mother city?
Cape Town.
That is the correct answer, Joe. In the media, the punning headline, "Who was Bez Man?" accompanied a story in the Sun newspaper in 2010 about the wedding of which singer with the group Happy Mondays?
Sean Williams.
The correct answer is Sean Ryder. David, in literature, what's the surname of the family created by John Galsworthy that includes 4 members with the first name Jolyon?
Forsyth.
I'll accept Forsyth. Joe, in farming, the Oxford Sandy and Black, a name for its colouring and also known as the plum pudding or Oxford Forest, is a breed of which animal?
Pig.
That is the correct answer. David, in human anatomy, which organ about 6 inches long discharges digestive enzymes into the gut and insulin into the bloodstream?
Pituitary gland.
No, the correct answer is the pancreas. Joe, in the performing arts, what's the first name of the dancer and choreographer who gave his 1996 autobiography the title Precious Little Sleep?
Wayne.
That is the correct answer. You're level pegging. David, in a US TV comedy drama series first shown in 1979, the Duke family, that included the cousins Beau and Luke, lived in a county with what name?
Hazard.
That is the correct answer, Joe. In the military, the name of which army bugle call is also a phrase meaning the final collection of the day from a Royal Mail pillar box?
Last post.
That is the correct answer. And after 5 questions each, your scores are tied.
Miller.
That is the correct answer, Joe. In art, which British photographer whose subjects included the Queen Mother and Marilyn Monroe also designed the costumes for the 1964 film My Fair Lady?
Litchfield.
The correct answer is Cecil Beaton. Joe, you leave with nothing. Join us again for the weakest link. Bye.
It feels bittersweet to get to the final and not win, but David gave me a good run for my money, so he's a worthy winner.
Some of my earlier rounds were not particularly good, so I'm surprised that I've won.